For about 10 seconds, nobody said anything. Then Emily laughed. Not because anything was funny. It was the kind of laugh people use when they think you're going to change your mind. You're joking, right? I shook my head. No. Dad leaned back in his chair. She's your sister. I know. She's struggling. I know. You're sitting in a house worth more than anything we've ever owned, and you're refusing to help your own family. I looked at him. You didn't help me. His expression changed. Mom immediately interrupted. That's not fair. I almost laughed. Not fair. I stood up and walked to the kitchen. I returned with a small box I'd kept for years. Inside were old photographs, school certificates, university documents, and a few letters. I placed everything on the table. This is my entire childhood. Emily looked confused. I pulled out a photograph from my academic award ceremony. I won this when I was 16. Another photograph. My graduation. Then a university bill. I worked 2 jobs to pay this. I looked at my parents. You weren't there. Mom's eyes filled with tears. We had our reasons. You always had reasons. I wasn't shouting. That was what made the room uncomfortable. I was finally calm. For years I'd imagined this conversation happening with screaming, accusations, and slammed doors. Instead, I simply felt tired. I told them about the Christmas when Emily got the newest phone while I received socks. I reminded them about my scholarship ceremony. I reminded them about my graduation. I reminded them about the money they'd spent on Emily's apartment, car, college, clothes, vacations, and eventually her wedding. Then I asked the question I'd wanted to ask since I was 18. Why was I never worth the same effort? Nobody answered. Emily suddenly became angry. You've always been jealous of me. I stared at her. Jealous? Yes. Mom and Dad loved me because I deserved it. That sentence hurt more than I expected. Not because I believed it. Because she actually believed it herself. I said quietly, you were given everything, Emily. That isn't the same as earning it. She stood up. At least I know how to have a family. That one landed. For a second, I couldn't speak. Then I realized something. Emily wasn't angry because I had rejected her business idea. She was angry because my success proved that their decision to favor her hadn't made her successful. She had been given every advantage. And I had been given almost nothing. Yet somehow, I had built the life she wanted. Mom began crying. Please, we're still your parents. I nodded. Yes. And I'm still your daughter. Dad looked at me. Then act like it. I answered, I am. I'm finally acting like my own daughter too. That ended the conversation. They left shortly afterward. Emily didn't say goodbye. Dad slammed the car door. Mom hugged me before leaving, but I couldn't bring myself to hug her back. The next morning, my phone exploded. Messages from relatives. Apparently my parents had already told everyone that I had abandoned the family. One aunt called me selfish. A cousin sent me a paragraph about how money changes people. Another relative said I should remember where I came from. I almost responded. Instead, I blocked them. Then I went to work. For the first time in years, I felt completely free. 3 weeks passed. I heard nothing from my family. Then Emily called. I almost ignored it. She left a voicemail. Her voice sounded different. No anger. No entitlement. Just exhaustion. She said she was sorry. She said she had been wrong about a lot of things. She admitted that she'd never understood how hard I'd worked because she'd never needed to. I listened to the message twice. Then I called her back. We talked for nearly an hour. For the first time, Emily told me what it had been like after the divorce. She'd realized she didn't know how to manage money, hold a job, or make decisions without someone rescuing her. She said she'd spent years believing everyone owed her a comfortable life. Then suddenly nobody did. I didn't excuse her behavior. But I listened. She asked if I would invest in her boutique. I said no. She sounded disappointed. Then I offered something else. If you genuinely want to build a business, I'll teach you. She was silent. I explained that I wouldn't give her $250,000. I wouldn't pay her bills. I wouldn't hand her a company. But I could help her create a real business plan, teach her budgeting, connect her with a small business mentor, and help her find a job so she could build some savings. She agreed. Not immediately, but eventually. Over the next year, Emily changed. Slowly. She got a job. She started saving. She stopped buying things she couldn't afford. She took business courses. She apologized to me properly. Not because she wanted money. Because she finally understood. My parents were harder. Mom eventually admitted that they had spoiled Emily because they thought I was strong enough to survive without them. Dad admitted that they'd confused providing for Emily with loving her. Neither apology erased the past. But I accepted them, not because everything was suddenly okay. Because I didn't want their mistakes to control the rest of my life. A year later, Emily opened a tiny clothing store. Nothing like the luxury boutique she'd originally imagined. It was small, simple, affordable, but it was hers. She worked there every day. When she made her first profit, she called me crying. I did it. I smiled. Yes, you did. Then she said something I'll never forget. Thank you for not giving me the money. I laughed. Why? Because if you'd given me everything, I'd probably still be the same person. She was right. Sometimes helping someone doesn't mean giving them what they ask for. Sometimes it means refusing to rescue them and giving them the opportunity to rescue themselves. As for me, my company continued growing. I eventually opened another office and started mentoring young entrepreneurs who reminded me of myself at 18. People sometimes ask whether I regret not having a loving childhood. Of course I do. I wish my parents had attended my graduation. I wish they'd celebrated my achievements. I wish I'd grown up believing I was enough. But I don't wish I had become someone else. The girl who sat alone at her graduation didn't know it yet, but she was going to be okay. She didn't need to be the golden child. She didn't need anyone's permission to succeed. She just needed to stop waiting for people who had already decided not to see her. So, I ate her for refusing to give my sister $250,000. At the time, my entire family told me yes. Now, Emily says no. And honestly, that's the only answer I needed. Edit. For everyone asking, my relationship with Emily is actually pretty good now. We're not magically best friends, and we still have disagreements, but we're finally sisters instead of competitors. My parents and I have boundaries. They don't have access to my finances. They don't expect me to rescue anyone. And for the first time, I don't feel guilty about that. The biggest lesson I've learned is that success isn't always about proving your family wrong. Sometimes success is simply building a life where their approval isn't necessary anymore. And that's exactly what I did.